The rain had been falling for hours. It wasn't heavy, just a steady, gentle rhythm that softened the city's edges. The pavement shone under the streetlights, and puddles reflected the moving lights of passing cars. Inside a small corner café, the warmth of roasted coffee beans filled the air. But outside, on the far side of the street, a man stood alone under the gray evening sky. He didn't hold an umbrella. His jacket was dark, his hair damp, and his eyes, deep, thoughtful eyes, kept watching the door of the café. The man was Keanu Reeves. He wasn't here for a meeting, not for a photo shoot, not for a film. He was simply waiting. People passing by recognized him, some slowing their steps, others taking out their phones. But there was something in his posture, in the quiet patience of his stance, that made them hesitate. It didn't feel like the moment for selfies or autographs. It felt like something else. Inside the café, Ana de Armas sat by the window. She had arrived 30 minutes earlier, escaping the drizzle. Her fingers curled around a warm mug of tea as she looked through the glass. She had noticed him the moment he arrived. At first, she had thought he was just another passerby caught in the rain, but the longer she watched, the clearer it became. He was waiting for someone. Keanu's eyes were steady, fixed on a side street. Every now and then he would glance at his watch, but there was no sign of impatience. No shifting from foot to foot. Just stillness. Ana tilted her head slightly, curiosity growing. She knew him, of course, not just as an actor, but as the quiet soul everyone in Hollywood spoke about with a certain respect. Still, she had never seen him like this. Unguarded, unaware of anyone watching. Minutes passed. The rain fell harder. Yet he didn't move. Finally, Ana pushed her mug aside, stood, and walked to the café door. Something in her chest told her she needed to ask, even though they barely knew each other. She stepped outside, the cool air wrapping around her instantly. "Keanu?" she called softly. He turned, surprise flickering in his eyes before it melted into a gentle smile. "Ana. Hey." "What are you doing out here?" she asked, glancing at the empty street he kept watching. He hesitated for a moment, then looked back toward the side street. "I'm waiting for someone." "In this rain?" He nodded, as if that explained everything. Ana frowned slightly, the curiosity in her voice sharpening. "Who?" He paused again, as if the answer mattered more than she could know. "Someone who once waited for me, when no one else did." Ana's breath caught. She wasn't sure what to say. There was weight in those words, something about loyalty, about gratitude, about a moment in the past that had shaped him. But before she could speak, a figure appeared at the far end of the street, an older man, moving slowly with the help of a cane, his coat heavy with rain. Keanu's face softened instantly. Ana understood. She stepped back, letting Keanu walk forward, the rain between them carrying a quiet story she suddenly wanted to know. And in that moment, she smiled, because sometimes the reason a person waits says more about them than anything else ever could. The question hung in the air like the mist above the street. Who was the man Keanu waited for, and why did it matter so much? The rain kept falling, calm but steady, as if the sky itself wanted to listen. Ana stood near the café door, feeling the cool edge of the wind on her cheeks, while Keanu stepped forward with a softness that did not draw attention, but somehow commanded it. The older man reached the curb and paused to catch his breath. His hair was silver and damp, and his hands shook a little as he leaned on his cane. Keanu took off his jacket without a word and draped it over the man's shoulders. The jacket was soaked, but it still offered warmth. "Mr. Alonso," Keanu said gently. The name came out like a memory. "You came." The man looked up, and his eyes, though tired, carried a clear light. "Of course I came," he said. "You said you would be here, and you always keep your word." Anna felt something change inside her. It wasn't just respect. It was that feeling you get when you see the invisible threads that tie people together, small acts, remembered promises, and the kind of loyalty that does not shout but never breaks. "Let's get you inside," Keanu said, glancing at Anna. "It's warmer there." Anna opened the cafe door and waved the barista for towels. The staff moved quickly, not because they recognized famous faces, but because kindness recognizes kindness. They brought hot tea, a dry blanket, and even a spare umbrella left behind by someone else. The cafe owner, a quiet woman with gentle eyes, turned up the heat a little and placed a small ceramic heater near the table. Mr. Alonso lowered himself into the chair with care. For a moment, he simply held the warm cup between his fingers and breathed. The tremor in his hands slowed. Rain streaks on the window blurred the outside world until it felt far away. "I know you have questions," Keanu said, looking at Anna with a slight smile, as if thanking her for walking outside and making this moment easier. "But let him rest first." Anna nodded. She sat across from them, taking in the scene. The older man, the quiet actor who waited in the rain without asking for praise, the soft hum of conversation around them. The cafe had turned into a small island of peace, and yet she felt a current moving beneath it, a story pulling them forward. After a few minutes, Mr. Alonso spoke. "You always remembered the rain," he said to Keanu, his voice low but steady. "Even back then." "Rain reminds me that the world is alive," Keanu replied, eyes soft. "And sometimes it reminds me who kept me standing when I felt alone." Anna leaned in slightly. "Were you two friends from long ago?" Mr. Alonso smiled. "Not in the way people think of friends. I was the night guard at a small theater near the park. Years ago. A young man used to come late at night. He could not afford the classes, but he had a key to the side door because the stage manager liked him. Sometimes the door would stick in the rain. Sometimes the young man would lock his bike and sit outside with his script, waiting for the storm to pass." Keanu's gaze drifted to the window, where the rain traced slow lines. "One night, the storm was worse than usual," he said softly. "I was tired. I was thinking maybe I should go home. But then I saw the guard step out with an umbrella and a thermos of tea. He opened the door for me even though it was late. He said, 'If the door is stuck, you don't wait alone. We push together.'" Anna felt her chest tighten. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Mr. Alonso nodded. "The boy worked until dawn," he said. "Later, I learned his name." He looked at Keanu with pride. "I learned he kept working, and he never forgot the people who held the door." Around them, the cafe seemed to quiet itself, as if it too wanted to hear every word. The past sat with them like a third friend. "Is that why you were waiting in the rain?" Anna asked, her voice soft. "To return a kindness from long ago?" Keanu breathed in. "Partly," he said. "But there's more." He turned to Mr. Alonso. "Tell her why you called me." Mr. Alonso carefully placed his cup on the saucer. His eyes shifted, and for a moment Anna saw a shadow pass through them, the kind of shadow that comes from worry you try to carry quietly so it doesn't burden others. "My grandson," he said. "His name is Lucas. Kind boy. Smart. He works nights at a repair shop a few blocks from here. Usually he texts me when his shift ends. Last night he didn't. I waited. I did not sleep. I called the shop, but the number did not connect. Today I went there. The shop was closed, the lights off, the door locked." Anna felt the quiet snap of tension. The hook that pulls viewers forward had found her heart too. "Did you call the police?" she asked gently. "I filed a report," Mr. Alonso said. "They said maybe he stayed with friends. Maybe his phone died. But I know his patterns. I know his care. He would not let me wait and worry if he could help it." Keanu spoke with calm certainty. You called me because you remembered what we promised each other that last night at the theater. Mr. Alonso smiled faintly. Yes, I said, if you ever need someone to wait with you, call me. And you said, if you ever need someone to look with you, call me. He paused. So I called. Anna looked at Keanu, and something in his face, something steady, watchful, and kind, told her he was already building a plan. It was not loud action. It was careful attention, the kind that finds people not by force, but by listening to small details others miss. We'll start at the repair shop, Keanu said. Then we'll speak to the diner on the corner. Most night shifts send someone for coffee between 2 and 3 in the morning. They will remember faces. The cafe owner approached the table with a small box. These are for you, she said, placing it down. Fresh bread. Take it with you. I heard what you said. I know the repair shop you mean. The young man buys coffee from my niece across the street. She is on shift tonight. She will help. Mr. Alonso's eyes glistened. Thank you, he whispered. Anna watched as the circle of kindness widened in front of her. Barista, owner, niece at the coffee stand, the quiet actor, the man with the cane. She felt a warm ache, the kind that comes when you see community form without anyone asking for credit. Still, there was a quiet conflict brewing at the edges. 2 people near the door had their phones out. A third whispered a name that sounded like a headline. Anna felt the old familiar pressure of attention, the kind that can turn a delicate moment into a spectacle. Keanu noticed it too. Without looking angry or afraid, he stood and walked to the 2 people with phones. He spoke in a calm, respectful tone. I know you're excited, he said, his voice steady. But an older man is worried about his grandson. Please give him privacy. You'll still have your coffee, and the city will still have stories tomorrow. Let this one be ours to hold for now. There was no demand in his words. He did not throw his name around like a shield. He simply offered respect and asked for the same. Surprisingly, the 2 people lowered their phones. The whisper at the door went quiet. The moment stayed whole. Anna felt something settle inside her. Humility had a different kind of strength, quiet, patient, steady. She looked at Mr. Alonso and smiled. We will help, she said. Tonight. We will not make you wait alone. The older man drew a careful breath, as if he had been holding it for days. Thank you, he murmured. His voice shook with relief, but beneath it was stillness. The stillness of someone who has walked long roads and still believes in people. They left the cafe together. The rain had softened to a fine veil, turning streetlights into halos and crosswalks into small mirrors. Keanu held the spare umbrella above Mr. Alonso, and Anna walked on the other side, matching their pace. When they reached the repair shop, they found the windows dark and the metal gate down. A small paper sign hung crookedly. Back in an hour. It had probably been there all day. The lock was clean, not broken, which told them the shop had been closed in a hurry, but not in panic. Lucas is careful with tools, Mr. Alonso said quietly, peering through the gate. If he left, he would put everything away. Anna crouched near the edge of the gate and looked underneath. There's no mess, she said. No scattered parts. No sign of a struggle. Keanu pointed to the curb. Look, he said softly. 2 coffee cup rings. One fresh, one faint. Someone waited here with a drink last night. Maybe Lucas, maybe a friend. They crossed the street to the corner diner. Behind the counter, a young woman looked up and smiled in recognition at Mr. Alonso. You're Lucas's granddad, she said. He always gets black coffee with 1 sugar. He came by around 2 last night. Was he alone? Keanu asked. The woman thought for a moment, then shook her head. No. He was with a girl. Small backpack. Bright yellow shoelaces. I remember because she tied one twice like it kept coming loose. They were talking about a rain leak. They were calm, not scared. He said he would be back for another coffee, but he did not come back. Anna felt the story sharpening. A girl with yellow shoelaces, a rain leak, calm voices. Not fear, but a task. "Do you know the girl?" she asked. "I've seen her before," the woman said. "She plays guitar near the bus stop on 5th. She smiles at everyone but keeps her distance. Polite, independent. I think her name is Mara." Mr. Alonso repeated the name under his breath as if storing it in a safe place. "Mara," he said. "Okay." They thanked the woman and stepped back into the rain. The bus stop was 3 blocks away, past a bookstore that kept its lights on late for the joy of it, and a florist who painted hopeful signs on the window even at night. The city smelled like wet paper and flowers and electricity. At the bus stop, they found a small cardboard sign tucked behind the bench, weighed down by a pebble. The sign said, in neat handwriting, "Back to help fix the leak, basement of 19 Harper. If you need me, I'll be there." "That's near the river," Keanu said. "A lot of old buildings. The basements flood when the drains clog." Mr. Alonso gripped his cane more tightly. "He helps people when it rains," he said, pride and worry weaving through his voice. He learned that from his grandmother. She said, "If water finds a low place, fill it with your time, your hands, your care." They moved quickly. The rain picked up again, as if the sky wanted to test their resolve. When they reached 19 Harper, they found the door open and a dim light downstairs. The basement smelled like earth and old bricks. Water moved along the floor in slow veins, gathering near a metal drain that struggled to do its job. "Hello?" Anna called gently. "Mara? Lucas?" a voice answered from the far corner. "We're here," the voice said, tired but steady. "Careful on the steps. It's slippery." Mara stepped into the light first. She was young, with clear, alert eyes and a cautious smile that carried more kindness than fear. Behind her, Lucas emerged, his clothes damp and his hair pushed back by a wet hand. His face lit when he saw Mr. Alonso. "Abuelo," he said, moving forward carefully. "I'm okay. I'm sorry I didn't call. The leak was worse than we thought. The drain clogged and the lights flickered. We had to work by a small battery lamp and my phone died. I thought it would just be an hour." Mr. Alonso closed his eyes and breathed, a quiet prayer released into the damp air. "You are safe," he whispered. "That is enough." Mara held up a small coil of wire and a wrench. "We fixed the pump," she said, shy but proud. "People live upstairs. They did not know the water was rising. Lucas didn't want to leave until it was safe." Anna felt the relief wash through her, warm and heavy. The suspense loosened, but it did not disappear, because beneath it something larger had started to grow. This was not just about finding a missing person. It was about the unseen work people do in small hours, the quiet ways strangers hold back harm from other strangers. It was about how kindness does not need an audience to be real. Keanu looked at Lucas with a steady gaze. "You did good," he said. "But next time, text your grandfather before the battery dies. Even a few words. He waits with his whole heart." Lucas looked down, ashamed, then nodded. "You're right," he said. "I will." They walked back up together into the softer rain. The street looked different now, like a place that had given up a secret. Mr. Alonso put a hand on Mara's shoulder. "Thank you," he said, "for staying." Mara adjusted her backpack, and the bright yellow shoelaces peeked from beneath the hem of her jeans. "I'm used to fixing small things," she said. "Strings, wires, drains. Sometimes it feels like I'm always tying the world together so it does not fall apart." Anna smiled at her. "Maybe that's what we're all doing," she said, "tying the world together in small ways." They started back toward the café to let the owner know the boy was safe, to thank the niece at the coffee stand, to return the spare umbrella. The night felt softer than before, Not because the rain had stopped, it hadn't, but because the fear had turned into a gentle peace that could sit inside the rain without dissolving. As they reached the corner, a van rolled slowly past, the windows tinted. It did not stop. It did not speed up. It just lingered a moment too long, then turned left and disappeared. Keanu watched it, not with alarm, but with attention. He filed it away the way you note a loose thread you might need to mend later. "Do you know that van?" Anna asked quietly. "No," he said. "But sometimes a story leaves a ripple. We'll keep our eyes open." Lucas frowned. "Someone came by the shop yesterday asking about used batteries," he said. "He asked a lot of questions about storage. I told him we do not keep many on site. I thought it was nothing." "Maybe it is nothing," Keanu said, calm and kind. "And maybe it is something. Either way, we will move with care." They reached the café and stepped inside again. The owner smiled when she saw Lucas. The two people with phones were gone. The heater still hummed like a small, faithful heart. Mr. Alonso sat down slowly, the relief now visible in the way his shoulders dropped. "Tonight," he said, glancing at Keanu and Anna, "you waited with me. You looked with me. I am grateful." Keanu picked up the untouched box of bread and placed it in front of him. "Tonight," he said softly, "we learned what kind of people Lucas and Mara are. People who stay when it is hard. People who fix what leaks." Anna looked from one face to another and felt the deep emotional beat that keeps you watching, not because of glamour or scandal, but because you want to live in a world where people make these choices. She thought of the van, the extra questions about batteries, the quiet tug at the edges of the story. The relief was real, but the thread was not finished. "Let's walk Lucas and Mr. Alonso home," she said. "And tomorrow we can check the shop again. We can ask the bookstore, the florist, and the neighbors if they saw anything strange. We will move gently, but we will not ignore the ripple." Keanu nodded. "Agreed." He looked at Lucas. "And you, text your grandfather when you arrive. Do not make him wait in the dark, even by accident." Lucas smiled, a little embarrassed, a lot relieved. "I promise," he said. "No more leaving him without a word." Outside, the rain began to lighten, breaking into a fine mist that caught the streetlight like soft silver dust. They stepped out together, 4 people and a story that had found its next step. Anna glanced at Keanu as they walked. "You could have sent someone," she said softly. "You didn't have to stand in the rain." He shrugged with quiet humor. "Some doors only open when you are the one waiting," he said. "And some promises mean more when the sky is gray." She understood. In that moment, she saw the reason and smiled again. Not at the fame, not at the headlines, but at the truth hidden inside a simple choice. To wait, to look, to stay. As they reached the corner where the group would part ways, the same van from earlier passed again, a slow circle around the block. It did not stop, but its presence scraped lightly across the surface of the calm, like a fingertip across still water. Anna met Keanu's eyes. They did not need to speak. Respect was not only about kindness, it was also about vigilance. Humility did not look away when something felt wrong. Resilience meant you walked home together and you noticed the things that might matter tomorrow. They said goodnight on the doorstep of Mr. Alonso's building. Lucas typed a message and showed it to his grandfather before pressing send. "Home safe. Love you. We'll call at sunrise." Mr. Alonso touched his cheek. "Sleep now," he said. "Tomorrow we will breathe in the sun." Keanu and Anna stood for a moment under the awning. Rain tapped gently on the edge of the roof. Somewhere far away, a siren moved like a thin line through the city, then faded. "Part of me hopes the van was nothing," Anna said. "Me too," Keanu replied. "But if it is something, we will be ready. We don't need fear to be prepared, we just need each other."
They started walking back toward the cafe to return the spare umbrella and thank the owner one last time. At the corner, Keanu paused and looked up. The clouds were thinning. A pale slice of moon sat behind them like a secret blessing. Anna slipped her hands into her coat pockets and felt the small cardboard sign from the bus stop. She'd kept it without thinking. She turned it over now and saw that, on the back, someone had written a second line in the same neat script. "If you're reading this, you found the right door." She showed it to Keanu, and they both smiled. Sometimes life left breadcrumbs. Sometimes people did too. They walked on, quiet but sure, knowing the night had not ended the story, only opened it. The city felt different now. Not because it had changed, but because their eyes had. Once you see kindness in motion, you keep looking for where it will move next.
The next morning came with a thin fog over the city, the kind that softened sharp edges but hid details you might need to see. Anna woke early, long before the streets began their usual rush. She couldn't stop thinking about the van, the cardboard sign in her pocket, and the way Lucas had looked both relieved and unsettled. Keanu had already been up for hours. He was the kind of person who used early mornings to notice things, shadows, patterns, silences. When Anna met him outside the cafe, he had 2 coffees in hand and a folded city map tucked under his arm. "You're planning a route?" she asked. "Not exactly," he said, handing her the coffee. "Just marking places connected to last night. The shop, the diner, the bus stop, 19 Harper, the florist, the bookstore. The spots form a kind of circle, and the van drove through most of it." Anna sipped the warm drink, feeling the fog cling to her hair. "Do you think it was following us?" "Not us," Keanu said. "Someone. Maybe Lucas. Maybe Mara. Maybe whoever was fixing that leak in the basement." They started walking toward the repair shop. The city was still waking up. Delivery vans unloading bread, cyclists in bright jackets gliding past, a street sweeper brushing rainwater toward the drains. Everything looked normal, and yet Anna felt the weight of something unspoken, as if the calm was too thin. When they reached the shop, Lucas was already outside, unlocking the gate. He looked tired but determined. Mara sat on the curb, tying her yellow shoelaces, glancing up every few seconds as if making sure no one unexpected approached. "Morning," Lucas said, forcing a small smile. "Abuelo's making breakfast upstairs. He told me to open the shop early. Said work keeps the mind steady." "And your mind?" Keanu asked gently. Lucas hesitated. "Still thinking about the guy who asked about the batteries. He didn't look like someone who fixes things. More like someone who wants to take things apart. He kept asking if we store them in the basement. I told him no, but now I wish I'd asked why." Mara pulled at the knot in her laces. "I've seen that van before," she said quietly. "Not just last night. Near the bus stop 2 weeks ago. Parked across from the music shop where I sometimes play. Same tinted windows, no logos." Anna felt the current of unease tighten. "Did it ever approach you?" "No," Mara said, "but it waited, like it was listening without getting close enough to hear words." Keanu stepped closer, his voice calm but steady. "It's possible they're looking for something, or someone. Either way, we pay attention. We listen more than we speak." Lucas unlocked the door, and they stepped inside. The shop smelled faintly of oil and clean metal. Tools hung neatly on the walls, each in its place. It was the kind of order that told you Lucas cared about his work. But something was different. Anna noticed it first, a faint wet mark on the floor near the back, not from a leak, but shaped like a boot print. "You weren't in here last night, right?" she asked. Lucas shook his head. "No, I locked it when I left." Keanu knelt down, studying the mark. "This boot is larger than yours. And the tread, not from a standard work boot. This is military surplus, or a close copy." Mara crossed her arms. "So someone was here. Why not break in properly?" Maybe they didn't need to, Keanu said. Maybe they had a key. Lucas's face paled. Only 3 people have a key. Me, Abuelo, and Mr. Harper from 2 doors down. He uses our storage sometimes, keeps spare parts here for his old scooters. Does Mr. Harper know about the van? Anna asked. Lucas hesitated. He owns one, but not tinted like that. And his is older, louder. Keanu stood slowly. Let's check with him anyway. Sometimes what looks unrelated turns out to be the thread that pulls the whole knot loose. They crossed the street to Harper's scooter shop. The front door was unlocked, but the lights were off. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of rubber and metal dust. Mr. Harper? Lucas called. No answer. They stepped inside, careful not to disturb anything. Anna's eyes caught on a shelf near the back, boxes labeled with dates. One had yesterday's date written in black marker. She opened it. Inside were battery packs, not the small kind for scooters, but larger industrial ones. These aren't scooter batteries, Anna said. What are they for? Keanu picked one up, testing its weight. Portable generators, maybe, but they could also be used for high-powered tools, or equipment that isn't supposed to be here. Lucas frowned. He never stores these here. This is new. Before they could speak further, a sound came from the back alley, a slow scrape, like a crate being dragged. Keanu motioned for them to stay quiet. They moved toward the side door, keeping to the shadows. In the alley, partially hidden by fog, a figure was loading crates into a van. Not the same one as last night. This one was white, but the way it lingered felt too careful, too measured. The figure wore a hood, but when they turned slightly, Anna caught the outline of a jaw she recognized. She couldn't place it, but the familiarity made her uneasy. The person shut the van door and drove off without seeing them. We follow? Mara asked. Not yet, Keanu said. We don't know what's inside those crates, and we don't know who they answer to. He turned to Lucas. Lock your shop. Keep the keys close, and don't stay alone tonight. Lucas nodded, but his hands tightened on the lock. Abuelo won't like it, he said quietly. He'll like it better than worrying, Keanu replied. As they stepped back onto the street, the fog seemed thicker. A florist across the way was setting up buckets of lilies and roses. She glanced up at them, then at the direction the van had gone. You're looking for trouble? She asked softly. Anna tilted her head. You saw the van? 2 of them, the florist said. One with dark windows last night, one white this morning. They both stopped near Harper's shop. People don't usually come here unless they need something fixed, or they want something that isn't theirs. Did you see who drove them? Keanu asked. The florist hesitated, then shook her head. Not clearly, but they wore gloves. Both times. Anna felt the pieces shifting but not yet fitting. What's your name? She asked. Camille, the florist replied. If you're going to keep asking questions, you should know who's answering. Keanu smiled faintly. Thank you, Camille. If you notice either van again, call the café. We'll leave the number. As they walked away, Anna spoke quietly. This is bigger than a missing person. Someone's moving something through this neighborhood, and they don't want to be seen. And now we've seen them, Keanu said. They passed the bookstore next. The owner, a tall man with round glasses, waved them in. I've been waiting for you, he said, lowering his voice. Someone left this under my door last night. He handed over an envelope. Inside was a single photograph, grainy, taken from across a street. It showed Lucas outside the repair shop, talking to the man who had asked about the batteries. Written on the back in block letters were 4 words. Tell him to stop. Lucas stared at it. Why me? He whispered. Keanu's eyes narrowed slightly. Because you noticed something they wanted to hide. And because you care enough to fix things, which means you might care enough to stop them. Anna felt the pull of the next step. What do we do? Keanu folded the photograph and slipped it into his jacket. We do what we always do, he said quietly. We wait where it matters. We watch where they think no one is watching. And when the time is right, we move. The fog thinned slightly as they stepped back into the street. The city seemed the same, but they knew better now. Every corner might be part of a map they had yet to draw. And somewhere in that map was the reason Keanu had waited in the rain. The afternoon light had a tired glow, as if the sun itself had been listening to the quiet trouble building in the neighborhood. The fog had lifted, but the air felt thick, the kind that holds unspoken things. Keanu, Anna, Lucas, and Mara met again at the café, their table tucked in the far corner where the hum of conversation couldn't drown the details they needed to share. Keanu spread the folded city map on the table. A few spots were already marked in blue ink: the repair shop, the diner, the bus stop, 19 Harper, the florist, the bookstore. Now he added the scooter shop and drew faint lines between each point. This is where the vans have been seen, he said quietly. Not random. They're circling, moving slow enough to be seen but not recognized too much. They're mapping just like we are. Anna leaned over the map. But why here? This isn't a rich area, not a place with easy targets for theft. Which means it's not theft, Mara said, her voice low but certain. It's about what can be moved through here, not what's already here. Lucas tapped the spot where Harper's shop sat. The batteries, those industrial packs. If they're not for scooters, they're for something portable, but powerful. Keanu nodded. Generators, lighting rigs, or, he paused, his tone careful, equipment that isn't meant to be noticed, things that work quietly, off the grid. The cafe owner approached, setting down fresh mugs of coffee without being asked. She didn't leave right away. I heard about the vans, she said softly. You should talk to the tailor 3 doors down. He stays open late, sees more than most people think. 10 minutes later, they were in the tailor's shop. The bell above the door jingled gently, and the scent of fabric and machine oil filled the air. The tailor, a wiry man with quick eyes, looked up from a jacket he was repairing. You're asking about the vans, he said before they could speak. I've seen them. One with dark windows, one white, both quiet. Drivers don't look like delivery guys. Too still, too watchful. How close did they get? Keanu asked. Close enough to block the view of the alley behind Harper's, the tailor replied. And twice, people carried crates from there to the vans. Not heavy enough to need 2 people, but still, they did it together. Faces? Anna asked. Gloves, hoods. But one of them dropped something. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small metal object. Found it near the alley. Looks like a connector for a battery pack, not the kind you buy at a hardware store. Keanu examined it closely, turning it over in his fingers. Custom made, he murmured, which means someone's building something specific, something they don't want traced. As they stepped back into the street, Anna felt the weight of it growing. This was no longer about a suspicious van. It was about a network moving through quiet streets, using everyday places as stepping stones. They decided to split up. Mara would walk past the music shop near the bus stop. Lucas would visit the diner again and see if the barista remembered anything more about the girl with the bright shoelaces. That meant herself, but she wanted to see if anyone else had noticed her movements. Keanu and Anna would circle the block, eyes open for either van. They moved with casual steps, not hurried, not obvious. Anna found herself watching more than she talked. Windows that stayed dark in daylight, shop doors that stayed locked though the signs said open, strangers who lingered without buying anything. Halfway around the block, Keanu touched her arm lightly. "Don't turn your head too quickly," he murmured. "But the white van is parked by the old print shop." Anna's pulse picked up. "Is anyone inside?" "Driver," Keanu said. "Window cracked, pretending to read a newspaper." "Pretending?" "The paper's upside down." Anna almost smiled despite the tension. "What do we do?" "Walk past," he said. "See if he reacts." They crossed the street, their steps steady. As they neared the van, the driver glanced up briefly, then went back to the paper. No flicker of recognition, no sudden movement. But as they passed, Anna caught a reflection in the side mirror, someone in the back of the van, sitting perfectly still, watching. They turned the corner out of sight, and Keanu spoke quietly. "Two people. Maybe more. They're not delivering anything. They're waiting." "For what?" Anna asked. "A signal," Keanu replied. "Or someone to pass by." They looped back toward the café. Lucas was already there, looking unsettled. "The barista said a man came in this morning asking about me," he said. "Said he was a friend of my father, but my father's been gone for years. She said he had gloves, asked if I worked nights alone." Mara arrived moments later, her face tight. "The music shop owner said the dark window van was parked across the street last Friday. Same spot, same time. And it left when I locked up my guitar case." Keanu folded his arms, his voice low but certain. "They're watching specific people, and they're watching patterns. If they know Lucas works late, and they know Mara moves between the bus stop and certain shops, they're narrowing a window." Anna looked between them. "So they're waiting for a moment when the street is quiet, when the right person is alone." "And when no one's looking," Keanu said, "which means we make sure someone is always looking." That night, they decided to keep watch. Lucas stayed at the shop, but with Mara inside, pretending to work on a small repair. Anna sat in the diner by the window. Keanu walked the block in slow, quiet laps, his eyes always shifting between doorways, reflections, and alley shadows. Just after midnight, the street emptied. The diner's last customer left. The florist's sign went dark. Even the air felt still. And then, from the far corner, the dark window van appeared. It rolled slow, almost silent. Headlights dimmed. It passed the shop once, turned, and came back. Inside, Mara pretended not to notice. Lucas stood just out of sight, phone in hand, ready. Keanu stopped at the corner, leaning casually against a lamppost. The van slowed as it reached the shop again. For a moment, it stopped entirely. Then the passenger door opened. A man stepped out. Gloves. Hood. His posture calm but deliberate. He walked toward the shop door, then glanced toward the lamppost. Saw Keanu. The man froze. Keanu didn't move. He didn't speak. He just watched. The man stood there for 3 long seconds. Then, without a word, he turned back to the van. The door shut, and the van rolled away into the darkness. Anna came out of the diner, her face pale. "They were testing the street," she said. "And now they know it's not empty," Keanu replied. "Which means they'll try again, somewhere else, some other way, but they'll remember tonight." Lucas opened the shop door. "What now?" Keanu's eyes stayed on the street. "Now," he said, "we stay ready, because they just learned we're watching. And that changes the game." The next 2 days passed without either van showing up. But it wasn't the kind of silence that brought relief. It was the kind that felt like the city was holding its breath. The neighborhood carried on. Kids ran between puddles, shopkeepers rolled up metal shutters, and buses groaned at their stops. But for Keanu, Anna, Lucas, and Mara, every ordinary moment felt like a cover for something hidden underneath. On the third evening, they gathered again at the café. The owner had closed early, leaving the warm smell of coffee and baked bread lingering in the air. Keanu had brought the map again, now marked with new notes in pencil. "They've pulled back," he said, tapping the paper. "But that doesn't mean they've gone. It means they're watching from somewhere we can't see." "Or," Mara added, "they're waiting for something bigger to arrive before they make a move." Lucas frowned, rubbing at the edge of the table. "Abuelo says this neighborhood used to be a crossing point, back before I was born. People moved goods in and out quietly. Nothing illegal back then, just hidden. Old habit, maybe." "Habits leave trails," Keanu said. "The kind people don't notice until they're used again." Anna leaned forward. "We need a way to pull them into the open without them knowing it's a trap." Keanu glanced at her. "You've got something in mind." She nodded slowly. "What if we give them a reason to think Lucas has something they want?" Lucas froze. "Me?" "Not really you," Anna said. "Just the idea of you. We stage something in the open where they can see but think they're unseen. Maybe at night. Maybe at a place we choose." Mara tilted her head, interest sparking. "Like leaving a trail they can't resist following." Keanu didn't answer right away. He studied each face at the table, weighing the risk. "It could work," he said finally, "but it has to feel natural. If they think it's bait, they'll vanish again." The plan came together in fragments over the next hour. Lucas would stay late at the shop one night, visibly moving a heavy box in and out of sight, as if deciding where to hide it. Mara would sit outside the diner with her guitar, a casual lookout. Anna would be inside the shop, partly in the shadows, watching the street. Keanu would position himself where no one expected, close enough to step in, far enough to avoid being noticed right away. The night of the plan, the air felt damp again, clouds pressing low over the rooftops. Lucas carried an empty crate lined with old blankets, heavy enough to make him walk slow. He set it down near the doorway, moved it inside, brought it out again. Anyone watching might think it held something valuable.
Mara strummed softly outside the diner, her yellow shoelaces bright against the dark sidewalk. Every few minutes, she would glance toward the shop, then back at her guitar, as if timing her attention without making it obvious. Inside, Anna stayed near the back wall, phone in hand. She could see Lucas through the front window and the faint reflection of the street behind him. Keanu's position was more hidden. Across the street, in the shadow of a delivery van parked for the night. From there, he had a clear line of sight to the shop, the diner, and the corner where the vans had been spotted before. For an hour, nothing happened. A couple of late pedestrians passed. A bus rolled by, its lights washing briefly over the windows. The clouds hung heavy, as if waiting for something too. Then, a quiet shift. Anna saw it first. A shape in the glass. Movement without sound. A dark window van had turned onto the street, headlights low. It moved slowly, almost floating forward. "They're here," Anna murmured into the phone. Mara's song slowed, her fingers brushing the strings without sound. Lucas kept moving the box, his expression steady. The van stopped half a block away. The passenger door opened and a man stepped out. Same gloves, same hood, but this time, he wasn't alone. Another figure emerged from the back, smaller, quicker in movement. They walked in opposite directions, splitting the street. Keanu's eyes narrowed. "Two approaches," he said softly into the phone. "One toward the shop, one looping to the alley." Anna shifted toward the side door, ready to cut off the one moving behind. Mara adjusted her position, placing her guitar case closer to her leg, ready to block the sidewalk if needed. The man in front reached the shop first. He didn't rush. He stopped just outside the window, pretending to look at a flyer taped to the glass. His reflection let him see inside without turning his head. Lucas bent to lift the crate again, making it look heavier than it was. The man's stance changed almost imperceptibly, like a predator deciding the moment to strike. Behind the shop, the quicker figure had reached the alley. Anna slipped out the side door and moved quietly toward them. In the dim light, she could see they were younger, maybe in their 20s, with a small pack slung over one shoulder. They paused at the back door, crouched, and pulled out a small tool, something meant to open locks without breaking them. Before they could use it, Anna stepped into view. "You're looking for someone?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The figure froze, then stood slowly. "Just making a delivery," they said. "At midnight?" "Night work pays better." Anna didn't blink. "Maybe, but only if you're delivering to the right door." Across the street, Keanu saw the man at the front take a step closer to the shop door. He pushed it gently, testing the lock. Lucas stepped back, pretending not to notice. That was when Keanu moved. He crossed the street in 5 slow steps, not rushing, but with a presence that filled the space. The man looked up, recognition flickering, then a quiet calculation of whether to walk away or push forward. "You've been circling for days," Keanu said evenly. "You had your chance to ask. You didn't take it, so now you're going to keep walking." The man's jaw tightened. "You think you own this street?" "No," Keanu said, "but I'm standing in it. And tonight, that's enough." The man's eyes flicked past him, maybe to the alley, maybe to someone else watching. But then he stepped back, his hands loose at his sides. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the van. The figure in the alley glanced at Anna, then followed, slipping into the van just before it rolled away into the dark. When it was gone, the 4 of them regrouped in the shop. The crate sat by the counter, still empty but now carrying the weight of what they'd learned. "They're not ready to make their move," Keanu said. "But they're testing our reactions, timing our steps, and now they know we're willing to step into their line, not just watch from the edges." Mara tightened her shoelaces. "So the next time, they won't test. They'll act." "Yes," Keanu said quietly. "And when they do, we'll be ready. Because we're not the ones circling. We're the ones waiting in the rain."
The rain returned 2 nights later, heavier than before. It washed the streets in silver and turned every streetlight into a blurred halo. It was the kind of rain that kept most people indoors. But for Keanu, Anna, Lucas, and Mara, it was the kind of night they'd been waiting for. The kind of night when people who wanted to stay unseen would think no one was watching. They met in the café before closing. The owner, sensing something in their expressions, locked the door early and left them the keys. "If the lights are on," she said quietly, "I'll know you're still here. If they go out, I'll know you've left." Keanu spread the map on the table one last time. No new marks, no new notes, just the same circle of places they'd been watching for days. "Tonight feels different," he said. "If they've been waiting for cover, this is it. They'll move while the rain hides their steps." Mara tightened her yellow shoelaces until the knots were firm. Lucas pulled on a dark jacket, hood low, ready to blend with the shadows. Anna checked her phone, the camera open and set to record without a flash. Keanu kept his voice steady. "Same positions as before, but stay sharper. If they move fast, we don't chase, we block. We make it harder for them to vanish, and if something feels wrong, you call out, 'No hesitation.'" The street outside was almost empty. Water streamed along the gutters. The air carried that heavy, electric stillness that comes right before something changes. At midnight, the first sign appeared, not a van, but a shadow moving along the far sidewalk. Tall, slow, deliberate. Minutes later, a second shape joined it from the opposite direction. "Front and back again," Anna murmured into her phone. Keanu's voice came through low and calm. "Third one behind the florist. They've brought more this time." The street's edges seemed to bend as the dark window van rolled into view. It stopped between the shop and the alley, perfectly positioned to see both. The passenger door opened and 2 figures stepped out, each carrying a small case. Lucas stayed inside the shop, pretending to sort tools. Mara sat at the diner's covered patio, strumming a soft, steady rhythm that matched the rain. Anna watched from the side window, her phone steady in her hand. Then the movement shifted. The two with cases split, one heading for the shop's front, the other for the alley. The tall shadow approached the diner from behind, stopping just out of the light. The van's engine stayed running. Keanu moved first. Stepping out from his position across the street, he cut the distance to the front of the shop in a slow, deliberate line. The figure there froze when they saw him, but didn't retreat. "You've been circling for days," Keanu said, his voice carrying over the rain. "Tonight you're not just watching. So tell me, what's in the case?" The man's answer was a sharp smile. "Nothing you can stop." Anna saw movement in the alley and reacted instantly. She slipped out the side door, intercepting the second figure before they reached the back entrance. "Wrong door," she said firmly, planting herself in the narrow path. Inside, Lucas's phone buzzed. Mara's signal. The tall shadow had moved closer to her, leaning in just far enough to speak. "You play nice," the voice said. "Walk away and you'll keep your strings." Mara didn't flinch. She kept strumming, her eyes fixed on the shop. "Funny thing," she said. "These strings hold more than songs." The rain masked small sounds, but it didn't hide motion. From the corner of her eye, Anna saw the alley figure shift their weight forward, preparing to push past. She took one step closer, her voice low and even. "You don't want to try that. Not tonight." Keanu, at the front, took another step toward the man with the case. "You brought more people," he said. "That's your mistake. More to see. More to remember." The man hesitated, glancing toward the van. From inside, a voice called out, sharp, impatient. And then, in a move none of them expected, the van's rear door opened. A fourth figure stepped out, this one without a hood, without gloves. A woman in her 40s, her face calm but eyes cold. "Enough," she said, her voice cutting through the rain. "We don't need trouble here. Not now." Keanu's gaze locked on hers. "You've already brought it." The woman's lips curved in the smallest hint of a smile. "And yet you're still standing. That's interesting." She nodded toward her people. "Back in the van."
The figures obeyed. No rush, no panic. The cases disappeared inside, the doors shut, and the van rolled away, turning at the far end of the street without looking back. The rain didn't stop, but the weight in the air eased. Mara let out a slow breath, setting her guitar across her lap. "They just left?" "For now," Keanu said. "But they showed us something. They're organized. They answer to someone. And now they know we're not just beast-eye-underers." Anna stepped into the light from the alley. And that woman, she didn't want to fight tonight, which means they still have a bigger plan somewhere else. Lucas joined them outside, the rain soaking his hood. "So what do we do now?" Keanu looked down the empty street, water running in thin streams toward the drains. "We keep the street awake. We keep the doors from sticking. And if they come back..." He glanced at each of them in turn. "Anna, Mara, Lucas, we'll be standing in the rain again." They walked together toward the café, the warm light spilling from its windows, a small island against the dark. The owner was there, waiting with dry towels and hot mugs, no questions asked. Anna watched Keanu as he stood by the door, scanning the street one last time before stepping inside. There was no triumph in his face, no false comfort, just the quiet certainty of someone who knew that resilience wasn't about winning once. It was about being willing to show up again, no matter how many times the storm returned. And as the rain kept falling, she understood the reason she'd smiled that first night in the cafe window. Because sometimes the people who wait in the rain aren't waiting for help. They are the help.